Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Tuesday, November 18th. November 18th.
Wow.
Do you know what November 18th is, Rob? Not that old joke. It's your kids, the day after the 17th. No. Today's the day when the Anthem Awards are announced, which includes the Webby Awards. Includes the Webby Awards, because I was having to prep my mouth to say the Webby Awards.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
The winning public relations action of 2024, awarded by the Anthem Awards.
Okay.
The voting booth ad.
Are you serious?
Yes. Breaking the news here, folks. I mean, check your news feeds. This morning it's announced.
That's fantastic news.
Now, the Julia Roberts Vote Common Good voting booth ad from 2024 that rocketed to the highest levels of satire on television.
Yes, that led Donald Trump to call in to Fox and Friends and complain about it.
With a shaky, sad voice. We were a part of a team that made Donald Trump very, very sad the Saturday before he was elected president for the second time. So he may have won that particular election, but we won the battle.
Okay. So say this again. What award is the ad winning?
Social impact, the best public relations social impact campaign. And the other winners of the Anthem Award are like, the World Health Organization doing social impact. And then there's the little piece. I was trying to come up with something.
There's a guy in his attic, a guy in his basement, and a guy in California.
Spent $0 on running an ad. And that ad, which you can see right, if you're watching this stream on YouTube, just go into our videos. The pinned video at the top is that ad. Julia Roberts voicing over that when you walk in the voting booth, your vote is yours. And it caused the right, including, God have mercy and rest his soul, Charlie Kirk, to lose their minds and come out and say, if my wife ever voted for someone and lied to me about it, or didn't tell me, or said she did the right thing when she really voted for the other, I would. And they went on and on about their patriarchy, the promise of patriarchy. And anyway, it became a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And it's now an award-winning ad.
This is great. This is great because the last article I read about this ad, it was named the worst ad of the election cycle.
What? By whom?
I don't remember, but it was about how it had backfired.
It backfired.
So this is good news. This is wonderful news. How is our friend Dodie taking this news?
Oh, we are all. It's been embargoed. It's been under lock and seal for 12 days since it was.
I can't believe that you and Dodie both emailed me and did not mention this.
It's embargoed. We couldn't.
Tell me.
There were helicopters flying over our houses. They were tapping our phones.
I mean, it was
the Webby Awards people are not screwing around. These people.
That's right. I mean, these are the same people that are holding the Epstein files, right? Like, just...
The ad backfired. It's ridiculous. You know what backfired? Having a terrible campaign run by a fledgling operation that had to recover from a president not stepping away. That's what backfired, for the love.
Yeah, it really wasn't our fault that Kamala Harris didn't win.
No, I don't think. Do you know what was our fault? that America for a week talked about whether women should have the freedom to vote for who they want in the voting booth. And
Seriously,
if you ever try to argue
why
with
is
me
this
that
part of
that could backfire, is just, come on. Come on.
How in the world is this even up for debate? Just ridiculous.
Well, okay, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary
I know,
of War,
I know. Doug
his
Wilson
pastor,
and all of them. Yes.
Pastor.
I know.
Thinks she should vote as families with the husband having the final determination. So
he probably thinks that only landowners should be able to vote as well.
It's very real, or crypto owners perhaps. Maybe if you just rent a condo and then you own crypto, that would make you in the MAGA world the modern male white landowners. Anyway, so big news coming out about that over the next couple of days, and thank you all for your congratulations and all. But here's the thing that's fun for me about this, Rob. That ad was alive and well. I mean, stories written about it on election day.
Yeah.
It was in the grind the whole time. People were thinking about it, talking about it. Then the darkness fell.
Yeah.
The results came in. The truth was exposed. These people could spend $1 billion. And we all got sad, as we should. We've all started experiencing the pain and the grief, and then the very real burden of the Trump administration. And there hasn't been any time to cheer this thing on. So today's our day. The things we said might happen. There might be a bounce back for Democrats in the next election, which happened 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We said there might be a split within the MAGA world. We're going to talk about that today. We can breathe a little easier. We can zip up our hoodies to look more professional and take on an award. I don't even know who gets the award. I think the producers. I think Colin and Megan actually were the ones who were the creators of it.
Really, not Doty?
Well, we're all part of the team, but their firm was the one that made the ad and submitted it. Yeah. Submitted it for. We're asked to submit it. Actually, we're asked to submit it, and they did. And then
if there's some
number one social impact.
If there's some statue, it's got to go to Doty. It's got to.
We all should get them, like Grammys and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, somebody should get on. You know what somebody should do, Rob? Here's an idea. They should travel to thrift stores and buy old trophies, tennis trophies, bowling trophies, and the like. We should put the Anthem Award on there and send those around.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just an idea that's been waiting a long time to be birthed.
Yeah.
All right. So that's November 18th.
Whew, big day.
Big day. Weather outside in Minnesota, perfectly November, cloudy. Sadness is coming to the skies after a beautiful, beautiful fall. But now, we're gonna get treated November like. I don't know where in the country November is a great season. I don't know. Maybe South Florida, maybe Arizona could be places. And let's not let old Jim chime in and tell us it's always beautiful. In California.
I mean, Jim has already said it's 65 and sunny in California.
In Santa Barbara.
Alex has said it's 73 and sunny in Tampa.
Okay, there are places. Minnesota is not one of those places.
Clearly, we live in the wrong place.
For November, we're great in July. July, we thrive. All right, hey. What's going on, Rob? What's happened with the campaign? Any big updates before we talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene's road to Damascus trip?
Yeah, I mean, the big news since we last talked, Doug, on the podcast, was the filing period ended, which at the end of which that was on Wednesday at noon of last week.
This is in Arkansas's congressional system.
Yes. So there's a filing period. There's kind of hoopla the first day and hoopla the last day, and in the middle, it's all just kind of, very run of the mill. So we went the first day and filed to be on the ballot. You pay your fee, you fill out some forms, you get your picture taken, and then your name appears on the ballot. My primary opponent decided on Wednesday, right before noon, to withdraw her name.
To join forces with Rob for
And
Congress.
therefore, I am unopposed in the Democratic primary and will be the Democratic nominee to face
Congratulations,
Congressman Steve Womack. So yeah, it was it was a funny thing that happened. I had some meetings that morning, and so I got to the cigar shop where I work most days, and
not as an employee of the guitar shop. You are a customer of the guitar shop of the cigar shop where you work.
Yes, and you're having a little Freudian slip there.
I am.
My vice versus your vice.
Yes.
Yeah. And so so it sat down and was pulled up the Secretary of State's website just to see if anybody had slid in the last minute.
Jumped in.
An unexpected challenger. And so I'm sitting there and I pull up the website and I don't see Diana's name listed. It's just me and Womack. And so I was like, well, that's weird. And so I jumped over to Facebook to pull up Diana's Facebook page to see if she had posted something, if something had changed. And at that very moment, I got a phone call from the chair of the Democratic Party of Arkansas, telling me that Diana had decided to pull out. And about 20 minutes later, Diana called me and we had a wonderful conversation. Really, I mean, Diana and I have gotten friendly over the last several months of doing candidate forums together. We've done several. She's really, really sweet lady, and decided that she was gonna give me the inside track to go beat Steve Womack.
So you still have a primary election coming, but you're basically running a Russian election, and you're the only one on the ballot. Yep. And you will confidently run your way all the way through that finish line, and probably say something on election night like, well, tell you the truth, I didn't know how the turnout would come. I just knew we were going to work our way all the way to the end. Yeah. You need to do the full Monty, the full dealio. By the way, have you watched the CNN airing of the documentary about the New Zealand Prime Minister?
No.
There's a film about her.
Okay.
She was the Prime Minister of New Zealand during COVID and after.
Yeah.
And it's a documentary where they were following her anyway because of sort of her particulars being of interest. And then COVID happens and everything got more drama filled. But anyway, it's great. And she's got a wonderful, when she wins an election, she has this great speech about we didn't know. I didn't trust the polls. We ran our way all the way across the finish line. You need to do that full thing.
Nice.
I'm not going to get fooled by the polls.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of political television, have you watched Death by Lightning on Netflix?
No, but someone mentioned it and I've heard it, and we clicked on it just to put it in keep watching, because that's the only way we can keep track of anything anymore.
Yeah.
We start watching it for 5 seconds.
So Death by Lightning is a 4-part series. So it's we used to call mini series. And it is the story of James Garfield being elected president, and then also parallel to that, the story of the man who assassinated James Garfield. And it is fantastic. Vanessa and I are 2 episodes in, so we're halfway there. Absolutely loving it.
Great.
Nick Offerman plays Chester A. Arthur and is brilliant.
And who is Chester A. Arthur in the Garfield? Not the cat comic strip, but in the President Garfield.
Yeah, he was his running mate.
Okay.
Yep. And and also super interesting. It harkens back to a time when Republicans were the progressives in our country. You
whimsically thinking back, the good old days that I
the
used to
good
tell
old
myself
days.
about.
We need to make America great again.
Make Republicans progressive again. Garfield,
Yeah, that's
2028.
Right. Yeah, really highly recommend this show.
Okay.
Super great.
Are you at the point now, because you knew it was a mini series, so you knew there were 4 episodes? Because some of us, when we watch a show or even a season, you click on the more info just to see how many episodes there are going to be.
What kind of commitment am I making here?
Yourself.
Yeah,
and
we watched the first episode kind of on a whim. We had finished a show and we're like,
yep,
yeah, let's check this out. And we watched the first one and loved it, and then checked how many more episodes there was, and saw that there were 4. And now we have become like, we're not binge people. As children of the 80s, we like to watch our television episodically. And so we will often only watch a show once a week.
Really? Are you watching English Teacher yet? On Hulu?
No.
You can't help but binge. You're going to binge that like eating popcorn. You're not going to take one handful.
Okay. We'll check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, okay, are you at the point yet then where you are starting already to regret that you're going to miss these characters in this story? Like you know it's coming to an end and you only have a few number of hours left?
Vanessa does that.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Vanessa says that her standard for whether or not it's a good television show is if she wonders about what the characters are doing, like during the day, like when she's she's like, oh, I wonder what they're up to right now, and she knows that that's a good show. I personally love completing a television show. That sense of completion.
Wow.
I love it.
And even bring that Enneagram 3 finish the list to watching a television show.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Vanessa deeply regrets the end. She will not watch the last episode of a show just because she doesn't want it to end. On the other hand, I'm like, no, I love finishing a show. That's such a great feeling.
That's great. Hey, well, I'll tell you what show is not finished. The MAGA shit show that is not finished. That thing, look, there are a lot of explanations and a lot of theories about what's going on in our world. There's a lot of predictions. There's no point in the middle of any prediction of anything while the predicting is still going on for people to argue about it. You can just make your predictions, right? Because there's no proof that one thing's going to happen or the other. Some of us have been arguing that Donald Trump, politically speaking, is dead man walking. Lame duck is the language you use in politics. There's no reason to stick with the guy if he costs you anything, because every day he loses value. This is just true of term-limited politicians, especially presidents. Our country has a way of becoming tired of people, no matter who the president is, no matter who the governor is, no matter who the rock star is, no matter who the actor is. We just get a little, like it's a little bit of, the gum was refreshing when you first put it in your mouth, and then after a while you're just thinking, when am I gonna, get this into a garbage can? That is clearly happening with Trump, and for some people, that happened a long time ago, because this guy has been in the political viewfinder since July of 2015.
Yeah.
Just let that settle in for a minute. Normally, a candidate gets a couple of years or maybe a year of running up, then they'll run, then they're going to get a 10-year run if they're reelected president. Then they're gone. And we become tired of them at about year 5. Which is why I've argued for a long time, 5-year term, 5 or 6 year term, just one of those, that's it. No reelections would do our country so good. We shouldn't be reelecting presidents. Elect them for a term long enough to get something done and be done. Because you can't be the president of everybody and then run for reelection. I mean, it's just a terrible idea, but it's what we do. But people are really souring on Donald Trump. In my view, my prediction, we've been saying it for a while around here, that there's been a quiet quitting of Trump, where people stopped being vocally supportive or defending him or talking about him, and the next stage was going to become a riff. I want to propose to you that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a case in point. We can pick apart all the particulars of Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is a case in point. She got very quiet about Trump for the first 6 months of the administration. Then she started speaking out. Then she broke rules with him. He turned on her, and she has turned on him. Now, we're going to watch an interview, and we're going to commentate our way through this interview. So the interview is 17 minutes. A little bit of that is the questioner, CNN questioner, and then responses from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And after each of those segments, Rob and I will offer some commentary. Now, we will also be making a commentary with our faces that will also be on the screen because we can't help it. So, Rob, any initial statements, thoughts about the situation, the interview? What do you think it means? Any of the rest of this?
I watched this morning, and Vanessa was listening in and said very interestingly that this is often what happens with white feminism, where a woman feels like her life is in danger, and that's what breaks and causes the courage to finally make some kind of shift. So that was a very interesting comment. And speaking of which, she just walked into the room, so I'm gonna mute myself and see what she wants. So
okay,
talk amongst yourself, Doug.
Will do. Easy enough, no problem. Couple of initial comments here. People change. We know that to be true. It's just true. If you've had friends, family members that become more Trumpy, it's proof positive people change. If you've had people become less Trumpy, it's positive. If you've had people that care less about things or more about things, and also just inarguably, every second of the day, people's biology changes, people's chemistry changes, new ideas come in, people take on a new phone, they eat a new thing, they change. It's just normal.
They got a new phone.
We shouldn't be arguing about anything.
Oh, that iOS update.
People change. Now, it might not be a change you want. It might not be a change you find sufficient, but change is absolutely built into life.
Yes.
So the only thing we argue about is, do certain people change in ways that we find to be helpful, appropriate, better, worse? This is it. So just let go of people don't change, this will never change, things are settled, because that gets rooted in some of our brains pretty aggressively. And when we get stuck in a things are the way they are and they will never be anything else, that's troubling. Yeah. So I would just suggest that to wherever you are on Marjorie Taylor Greene. I have chosen to be a person who, if someone says to me, this is what's going on, I think your best bet is just to start with believing them. Now, you might have reasons to find out that is not what was going on. Yeah. But you can start, and you can call yourself gullible, and you can call yourself an easy mark. You can protect yourself from that by doubting first and then being, convinced later, however you want to do it. I just start with, if she says she's changed, let's start there and see what happens. This particular interview was quite something, frankly, especially after all the other interviews I've seen of her in her 2025 political life, because Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very public about needing to split from Trump since 2020, since the inauguration 2026. Like and people can say she's got political motivations, all the rest of it. That comes up in the interview. I think she probably does. I think she's thinking about a lot of things, but I believe her on what she says in this interview about her motivations for changes. Okay, now
let's go to it.
Let's watch it. Let me make this initial commentary. The interviewer's name is Dana Bash. Dana, not Dana. I have watched Dana Bash for years on CNN, doing interviews. I have heard so many politicians pronounce her name Dana. To my memory, it's almost always Republicans. And I think they do it to try to goad her. She's I have never heard her correct someone. And that might be because every time I've heard someone say, well, Dana, that's a great question, I blurt out in a Tourette's-like episode, it's Dana. I just can't help it. I have to talk to an inanimate screen speaking back to them. It just drives me crazy. My sister's name is Dana. I know that name well. It's a great name. You should name your children Dana.
Yeah.
Her name is not Dana. It is Dana. She is a professional. Dana Bash is a long-term professional political journalist. This is not Ghislaine Maxwell. This is D-A-N-A.
Is her name. Is that how you say it, Ghislaine?
Ghislaine, yes.
I still don't know how to say her name. But she's a convicted sex offender. Dana Bash is a, long-term political reporter.
And you are in an interview, sitting in a studio, being interviewed by Dana Bash.
The disrespect. Yeah.
Or whatever.
I mean, no.
I don't know why Republicans say her name.
Absolutely intentional.
Wrongly.
They did it with Kamala Harris, calling her Kamala. They did it with
Barack Obama.
With Barack Obama, they did it with Mamdani. This is part of the disrespect to try to belittle people by not pronouncing their name correctly.
So right out of the chutes, I was like, oh, is she doing that? Now, maybe she's not. I don't know. I'm just saying it gets me, and maybe it's going to get some of you. But this is Dana Bash, who I know, Rob, you don't watch MSNBC very often. For our viewers who do, there's a somebody used to work in the government, like CIA or something, and then he is a commentator on MSNBC quite a bit. Last name Bash. Was married to Dana Bash. Anyway, that's all I was bringing up, and I didn't know that for a very, very long time. That they're
okay.
Well,
let's see what Marjorie Taylor.
That's where her last name comes from. All right, so here's Dana Bash.
Yeah, let's see what Marjorie Taylor Greene
We'll
has
watch
to say
for a
to
bit.
Dana Bash.
We'll try to take some notes, and we will. So we won't interrupt Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments, Rob, unless you wave your hand or just say, "Stop! I have to say something right now." If it's really got your goat. So, all right. So buckle up, everybody. Here we go. Commentary about an interview. Two guys talking about something that two women said. Here we go.
For her first interview since the president cut ties, Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, thank you so much for being here. As you just heard, and I know you saw, the president says he's withdrawing support for you, encouraging primary challengers. You were one of his biggest supporters. What do you think happened here?
Well, Dana, thank you for having me on, and that is true. I stood with President Trump when virtually no one else did. Campaigned all over the country, spent millions of my own dollars helping him get elected, and I think that's incredibly important. And I do support him and his administration, and I support them in delivering the campaign promises we made to the American people. His remarks, of course, have been hurtful. However, I have something in my heart that I think is incredibly important for our country, and that is to end the toxic fighting in politics. And this has been going on for years, and it has divided our country, split up friends and families, neighbors, and it's not solving our problems. The most hurtful thing he said, which is absolutely untrue, is he called me a traitor, and that is so extremely wrong. And those are the types of words use that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger.
What do you think happened? What do you think is the reason?
All right, Rob, let's come back to Dana Bash's second question. What do you take away from that?
Well, first of all, I think Marjorie said Dana. I think she said Dana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've watched this whole interview. So I want us to just underline, score, put a little asterisk next to stick a pin in the idea that someone's words can radicalize someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is true, but I just want us to note that she made that point here. She is obviously, I think, genuinely hurt by the president pulling his support from her, calling her a traitor. She seems like genuinely upset to me, and comes off, I think, very authentically disappointed in what's taken place. Now, her diagnosis of the thing she wants to address being the toxic nature of our politics, I think she's absolutely right that that's a significant challenge in our political system. This is something I talk about in my campaign, where I talk about faith, family, and freedom. And when I talk about faith, it's not religious faith, it's our belief in each other. And that has so been damaged by the hyper polarization that we've had. And when I say hyper polarization, I'm not talking about like having different beliefs about policy.
Yeah.
It's if I disagree with someone or someone doesn't agree with me 100% of the time, they hate America.
Yes.
That's the kind of thing that I think we need to get away from. So I feel like coming out of it, like, okay, so far so good. I'm tracking with her.
Yep.
She seems genuinely upset. She is staying true to her principles that, hey, I'm still on board with the MAGA agenda and and delivering on the promises we made, which, okay, fair enough. And she's really hurt by the toxicity, particularly directed at her when, being called a traitor.
Yep. And for Trump, pulling away his support of her. I think it's interesting that she is referred to other people as traitors, to our party, traitors to their donors, traitor to our cause. I think she's saying something very specific here, which is when Donald Trump says I'm a traitor, that causes followers of Donald Trump to behave in ways that put my life in jeopardy. That's my interpretation. I think she's saying this is the same guy who stood on the eclipse as president and said they are traitors. Michael Flynn's call, attack the traitors. Donald Trump saying, Mike Pence, do the right thing. Don't betray. She knows there's a radicalized group inside of MAGA who, when they hear that she's a traitor, they don't mean it in like general political sense that
they mean it in the very political legal sense of
you should be executed,
betrayed the country, and the punishment for that is execution.
Yes. So I think that's going on. I thought her comment, my ears perked up. I was carrying something down my driveway when I listened to this the first time. I stopped. Here's the drama. What caused him to stop while carrying something down his driveway? When she said, I was chuckling when she said, I supported him when virtually no one else did. Okay, when was that? All right. What, all the other Republicans abandoned him and you alone were out there with your own flag with his Rambo arms on? But then she said, I spent millions of my own dollars.
Yes. Yes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, they are not your dollars. The money she spent was not from her bank account. I guarantee it. It was from her campaign contributions that go into a fund. Marjorie Taylor Greene, if she now has amassed millions of dollars to spend by being a congressperson since 2018, then we need to talk about how does a person who barely had enough money to get along before running for office, which is part of her campaign pitch, how did she become someone with millions of dollars to spend? Or is she referring to campaign dollars as her dollars? Personalizing it. And look, friends, that thing that politicians do, that thing that business owners do, that thing that nonprofit owners do, where they think about the money in the institution that they are running as theirs, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So I stopped and thought she just claimed that campaign donor dollars are hers.
Yeah. And interestingly, so far this year, her total campaign receipts are $1.9 million, just about $2 million. And her cash on hand is $809,000.
What was it? What was it in 2022, 2020? Yeah, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24.
So in 24, her total receipts were 8.9 million, and she spent total disbursements of 10 million.
Okay.
So she started 2023 that cycle with money in the bank.
Money in the bank. So she spent $10 million. You know what you don't spend $10 million? Running for re-election in Rome, Georgia. As a congressperson. She spent, so my point only being, I don't care how much money, because in the scheme of things, it's just not that much money. She refers to her campaign dollars as her money. Don't get wigged out about 5 million or 8 million or 10 million, or somebody's going to remind you how much money Americans spend on potato chips every year. Not corn chips, just potato chips, unflavored. More than is spent on campaigns. She thinks of it as her money. And that whole thing, I spent my money to help him get reelected. The personal nature of all of this, that framing is super troubling to some of us. All right, are you ready for, because this theme continues. She goes on and says more about all this. So
what Dana does is basically what she's about to do is ask the same question again.
Yeah.
Because Marjorie, and we're going to see this a few times throughout the interview, Marjorie answers the question she wants to answer.
She gave an opening statement.
Yeah, she did a good job with that. And I actually really applaud her for this interview. I think there's a number of things that she does really well throughout this interview.
Yeah, her media training is strong.
Yeah, and so what Dana does is, okay, you made your statement. Now let me ask this question.
Now let me ask this again. And then she doubles down on the point that you made earlier about the threats to her life. And I'll just say, I'll prelim this. Hang in there, because she starts out the interview by saying, I'm still for Donald Trump and the things that we promised we would deliver. By the end, she's like, I don't think he's upholding the things that we all committed to. Like, her turn on him is not just Epstein files. That's what caused him to turn on her.
Yes.
She starts listing the other things that makes him not fit into the movement that she thinks she's the rightful heir apparent of. So it gets very interesting. All right. Which is, when I say MAGA is done with Trump, I'm not saying they're coming over and going to be a bunch of wokies like your friends Doug and Rob's podcast. I'm saying they don't think Trump is useful for them anymore, and they are done with him. All right. So here she goes on.
For this.
Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein files, and that is shocking. And, you know, I stand with these women. I stand with rape victims. I stand with children who are in terrible sex abuse situations. And I stand with survivors of trafficking and those that are trapped in sex trafficking. And I will not apologize for that. I believe the country deserves transparency in these files. And I don't believe that rich, powerful people should be protected if they have done anything wrong. And so I'm standing with the women, and I will continue to do my small part to get the files released.
You said on X yesterday, quote, "It's astonishing really how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out." Wow. And that it really makes you wonder what is in those files. Are you suggesting there's something in the Epstein files that President Trump does not want Americans to see?
Well, I think that's the part that has so many people confused, is that the women themselves that I have talked to have over and over again said that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Quite a few of them even told me they voted for him. And those are the women I would like to see in the Oval Office with support. I would like to see all of the women there with support. I have no idea what's in the files. I can't even guess, but that is the questions everyone is asking, is why fight this so hard?
Well, before...
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just take a breath here. Notice something. We've said for a long time that in the United States, there's a hero, villain, victim narrative that operates very powerfully in our media, in our storytelling, in our politics, in our religions. The way at which Marjorie Taylor Greene is making herself out to be the hero. I'm standing for civility. I'm standing for victims. She gets to a point because Dana Bash pushes her where she says, I haven't always, but now I am. She has a, change
hero's
narrative,
journey story.
A hero's journey in there. When she says, the women that I've talked to say Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong. She doesn't have access to every person who's been wronged by Jeffrey Epstein's.
Yeah. Who was it?
What is she doing?
There was, Doug, maybe you remember, there was somebody, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Donald Trump for that matter. Somebody had been accused of sexual misconduct, rape maybe, and they issued a letter signed by 47 women who said that they hadn't been raped by this person.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who that was. If it might have been Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But it's like, it doesn't matter how many people have not been hurt by someone.
Right.
It matters how many people have been hurt by someone.
Great point. When she says,
if there's one, that's enough.
The Epstein files are likely, in my view, the ones that are in the hands of government currently, not going to be sufficient in its evidence to charge people with crimes. The Biden Justice Department looked at the information that's had. The Trump Justice Department has looked at it. They have determined criminal liability is not found by us in these files.
Yeah.
That is not the end of the story. Criminal liability is not the only thing that says whether the American people should have an interest in the behaviors of the current sitting president of the United States.
Yeah.
It's not just criminality. Donald Trump, I do not think, is afraid of being criminally charged. I think he's afraid of the picture that will be painted when the truth comes out of his behavior, what Jeffrey Epstein knows about him, and other people in his circle.
Yeah.
So criminality is not the only thing. And that's how you can have a world in which someone will say, we've looked at the files, there's no charges to be brought, But that doesn't mean that people aren't going to be profoundly embarrassed. Look, when Donald Trump covered up his sexual affair with Stormy Daniels, he didn't cover it up because it was illegal. He did illegal things to cover it up, which is what he was convicted of. But he wasn't covering up illegal behavior. He was covering up immoral behavior that he did not want his wife to know. He did not want Melania Trump to know that he was having a sexual affair with Stormy Daniels when Melania was pregnant. That was the whole So the Epstein files are going to be full of things like that. The criminality will be the cover-up, not the criminality being what's found in the files.
Yes.
Now,
so
were people charged with crimes? Yes. Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Should others? That's something that professionals need to determine, and 2 different administrations now have had them in their access. But we'd have to just clarify, and I don't know what she's doing by saying the women I've heard from, that he didn't do anything wrong. That is okay. All right.
Yeah.
You've talked
So 2 things. One, kind of following up on the point that you're making. Bill Clinton was not impeached because he had a sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office.
That's right.
That's inappropriate. It's not illegal. He was impeached because he lied about it under oath.
Yes.
It wasn't about the sex. It was about the fact that he committed a crime when he lied under oath. He committed perjury.
He was covering up the immoral behavior he didn't want people to know about.
Yes, because it was embarrassing. So, and second thing, Donald Trump, and this is a little bit more broadly about the Epstein files. Donald Trump reversed course and said that today's vote to whether or not to release the Epstein files in the House of Representatives, he encouraged Republicans to vote yes.
Okay.
Even suggested that if it passes the Senate, he'll go ahead and sign that bill into law.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people talking about, him reversing course because of public opinion being so strong and not wanting to be on the wrong side of this vote. All of this stuff. Doug, I am absolutely convinced that the Epstein files are never going to see the light of day. I think Republicans are en masse going to vote today to have them released.
Yep.
And maybe the Senate does. Maybe Donald Trump goes ahead and signs the bill.
Yep.
And they will never be released.
What do you think the mechanism is they're going to use to not release them?
They
I have a theory about this.
They were not released during the Biden administration because there was an ongoing investigation. And Donald Trump has ordered Pam Bondi, his attorney general, to open up an investigation into Bill Clinton and Democrats. So therefore, the files are relevant again to an investigation and are not going to be made public.
Yep.
They get...
That's his workaround. Yep.
And frankly, politically speaking, it might be freaking brilliant.
Do you know who else said that last night? Thomas Massie, the Republican who's been working to get the files released, has said, I'm deeply concerned about this. This is what they're going to do, and we have to figure out a way around that.
I'm glad that the congressman is watching my TikToks because I put this out much earlier than he said it on CNN last night. So.
He's also the man, by the way, if you think good for him. And he's been an anti-Trumper. He's also the guy whose family held the AR-15s in their Christmas photo. Same guy. You know how I found that out? Because I looked up, how tall is Thomas Massie? Because I'm a tall person, 6'7". And this video that I saw of him being interviewed, he is towering. And I couldn't find the answer to that. So I said, show me a picture of him standing with other people. And the picture it showed was him with his family with the AR-15s. Heartbreaking. Okay. All right. So we're back to this hero journey. She's on the hero journey thing. I did hear Marjorie Taylor Greene on The View, by the way, when she was confronted with why was she spewing all kinds of QAnon conspiracies in her first term, running for office in the first term. And she said, well, like millions of Americans, I was misled. I was lied to. The hero story always has that you were victimized and then you overcame your victim status and became the hero. So it's following a pattern that people really actually like and that they tap into. So this will be how people look. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, is emblematic for what the pattern looks like when people change. And if you watch this from her, I think she becomes a picture of what you can start to notice in other people who aren't having to do it so publicly. But here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Blow up, you sort of alluded to this just now. You said you were confident the president wouldn't be implicated. Are you still confident of that?
I'm listening to the women. Those are the ones that are saying that he did nothing wrong. Virginia Giuffre even said under oath that Donald Trump did nothing wrong, and she wrote it in her book. So I'm continuing to listen to the women, and I think their voices should be the loudest.
The president said the reason that you have been critical of him is not necessarily Epstein, but because he pushed you not to run for the Senate or for governor in Georgia. How and when did he do that?
Here we go.
Well, that is absolutely not true. Actually, I never had a conversation at all with the president about running for Senate or running for Georgia. And those were decisions I came to on my own, that I don't want to have anything to do with the Senate. I think the past 2 months of the government shutdown should have shown America exactly why I would never want to be there. I think it's a
conservative distrust
broken
of the
institution
system
that serves the uniparty and doesn't serve the American people and how they vote.
Uniparty.
And I decided that I didn't want to run for governor this cycle either. I very much want to do the job that I'm in. Everyone else says I'm running for something, but all I want to do is serve Georgia's 14th district, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
So he said it pretty explicitly. Are you saying he's lying, or did he at least get that message to somebody on your political team instead? I'm not sure. But I don't. That is untrue. What he said. I don't know if he's being fed wrong information. I honestly have no idea in that area. But it is absolutely factually not true. Nor have I called him, and White House logs would prove that. His own cell phone records would prove it. I have not been calling the president, but I did post messages that I had sent to him, and that was to protect, get involved. This is important. The American people want the Epstein files released. And, I've stood with the president. I have disagreed with him at times, Dana, and I'm allowed to do that. I think that's the most important thing we can do as Americans. And I'm urging my party. I've been putting massive pressure on my party and our speaker to pass the agenda that the American people vote for. That's the agenda that I fought for. Those are the campaign promises I made. And I can disagree with the president at times, particularly this past Monday on the Marines' 250th anniversary, when he honored the new Syrian president, who is an al-Qaeda terrorist and was wanted by our government for years with a $10 million bounty up until March of this year. I very much am against that. I think that was very hurtful to the great men and women who served over in the Middle East and were sent there, and many of them that were killed and injured and live with PTSD to this day from fighting al-Qaeda. So there's things I disagree with, and I am allowed to do so. Well, do you?
Okay, so it's interesting. She does a nice, if you're watching political political messaging, she's doing a nice job of getting on the point she wants to make.
Yeah.
Because Dana Bash says to her, Donald Trump was very explicit that he told you that he wouldn't, and she's like, that's untrue. And then basically hints, look at his call records.
Yeah.
We've never been together. When did he say that to me? He didn't. It's untrue. So she is setting up. Look, she is setting up that Donald Trump has some motivation she couldn't possibly know what it could be about the Epstein files. He's not telling the truth about this. And for, as you said, point one of things that she fundamentally disagrees with him and the America First agenda, how he's not upholding it. That is some powerful setup, which is not just he hurt my feelings, I'm a scorned. I know, because a lot of conservatives are saying this about her. She's just a scorned woman, and this is how women are, and all this nonsense. No, she's like, oh, no. I've been disagreeing with this guy from day one. I stand with the agenda. I don't stand with him. It's.
So part of what Donald Trump tried to do when he withdrew his support of Marjorie Taylor Greene is he tried to portray her as unstable, as I think he called her wacky.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was this trope, this stereotype of the crazy woman who, and that's in air quotes for the people on, listening on the podcast, the crazy woman who constantly calls and pesters and texts and giving this impression that she's the one leaning in. She's the needy one. She's the one who can't let go. And so he said, I get all these messages from her. I get all these phone calls from her. And he was like, but I'm not taking those. Trying to portray her very desperately, as very desperate. And her response here is like, okay, I did post the messages I sent him and check the phone records. Doug, listen, you've been a pastor for a long time. When a relationship is breaking down and couples are at the point of checking the phone records.
Yep.
It's bad, right?
It's bad.
Bad. Yeah.
And she even had a little slip in there where she said, I did post some of those things to make it clear, like she almost said, to protect myself from what he's. Now, I'm granted, I'm reading into it. I'm just saying this is how a viewer, if she goes on a public media tour, that seemed like she was saying, "Oh, I put out everything I've sent to him. Check the call records. It says nothing to do with me not running for Senate or me not running for governor. That is not what this is about." And he is
that little slip of the tongue made me laugh.
Which one?
She said, "I'm not running for Senate. I'm not running for Georgia."
For Georgia,
she meant governor.
Yeah,
governor.
For Georgia.
Yeah, I like that. That was clever.
She's not running for Georgia. She's running for Marjorie. But that whole thing there, and then she goes in. Then she pivots at her initiation. This is the quiet leaving becomes the out loud leaving. Let me start with last Monday.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump used the White House to honor a man that the United States has been trying to stop. Now, President Trump can figure out what he does when there's an elected leader from another country that the United States wants to oppose. Bringing him into the White House and shaking his hand and touring him around and basically asking him, what does Syria have to give me? We could go on and on about what Donald Trump did in the last week of parading in the Swiss delegation and them giving him a $100,000 gold bar with 47 and 45 engraved on it. A gold bar for his presidential library, because he's using his presidential library as the receiving entity for all the gifts, and then he lowered the tariffs for their nation. He's just taking bribes, just literally flat out. And a bunch of MAGA people, we won't get into it now, but are all over this. And they're like, this is the most corrupt administration we've ever seen. I know it's hard for a lot of us because our sample size of MAGA is usually who we see on television as represented elected officials and who's in our family and friend group. But the 75 million people who voted for Donald Trump is bigger than that. And the fracturing is happening all over the place. Shall we go back in, or do you have more?
Keep going.
Represents the MAGA movement as he once did?
Look at that smile. Do you think he represents the MAGA movement?
What the American people voted for with MAGA was to put the American people first and stop sending foreign aid and stop being involved in foreign wars. They very much deserve to be put first. Cost of living is far too high. Health insurance is completely out of control. And those are two issues I've been very vocal on for months and months now, long before Republicans were shocked when those big losses came on this past Tuesday's election. So I think that the American people deserve to be put first. That's what Make America Great Again meant to me. And I think that President Trump can do that if he refocuses his effort. And I think that's what I want to see. I think that's what the country wants to see. Even if he's attacking me, I do want him to be successful for the American people.
So sounds like you're saying that he is not representing the MAGA movement that he started right now.
I can say that promoting H-1B visas to replace American jobs, bringing in 600,000 Chinese students to replace American students' opportunities in American colleges and universities, those are not America First positions. And continuing to really travel all over the world doesn't help Americans back at home. I really, and I said this to him, and I will say it out loud, I would love to see Air Force One be parked and stay home, and there be nothing but a constant focus in the White House on a domestic agenda that helps the American people once and for all.
Congresswoman, you posted on X.
Okay.
So what we're seeing here is here's where the line is being drawn in terms of the question of American intervention around the world.
Yeah.
America first. And it's interesting because there was an article linked as the headline on Drudge yesterday for part of the day about how Ted Cruz is trying to create the lane of a interventionist approach. And he's going to be the like traditional interventionist candidate for president of the United States. What we're seeing here from Marjorie Taylor Greene is the great offense, the primary sin you can commit is to not put America first, in quotes. And she begins to list example after example after example. And then at the end with the Air Force One comment, she gets personal because this guy loves his plane. He loves to fly around the country. He loves to fly around the world. He loves to have that thing of getting off the plane and being welcomed. He loves the little press gaggle he can do on the plane, which yesterday, by the way, Doug, did you see what he said yesterday on the plane?
I saw some of it. I saw just about the Epstein.
He called a reporter piggy. He called a female reporter.
Who was he? Who was the he? Who was the man he called piggy?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wasn't a man.
Yeah, shocker. Yeah, she was asking a question about the Epstein files, and he said, "Quiet." He was pointing his finger. He said, "Quiet, quiet, piggy." Wow. But it's his domain.
Yeah.
He loves that. It's what is the ultimate status symbol for a rich person?
Yeah.
It's having their own plane, having a private plane.
Yes.
And he's got Air Force One.
Yeah. An almost good enough, an almost Qatari level tricked out airplane. And look, a side note, we have spent time with people like Rob Schenck, who's been in meetings with Donald Trump before he was president and a bunch of other religious leaders. And what they talked about was their preference of airplanes, private airplanes. The reason the Paula Whites and all the others rallied around Trump is because they held in common living in a certain kind of a way, flying around in private jets.
Yep.
So you're right on that. Like, that is deeply personal. And look, when she says to him, when she says, I've said this to him personally, and now I'm going to say it out loud, that's what invoke common good parlance is. People were quiet quitting. Now they're getting loud.
Yep.
Look, we have believed that all of these people just fall in line. What's going to come out is going to be not just Marjorie Taylor Greene, but all the other Republicans who will say, I said this to the president, because they do meet with him and tell him things they think. Then they come out and they rally. They come out with a unified front. So when this stuff starts to come out and all the reporters who know all the backstories about what's actually gone on, this dam is going to start to break.
Yeah.
And then Trump is going to get very insecure because there's going to be 20 or 30 or 40 Republicans who have said, oh, I'm going to start outing the stuff that I've been saying to him too. How about how he's not being the president we need him to be? Can you imagine what Donald Trump thinks about being lectured by Marjorie Taylor Greene about what it means to be the president of MAGA? I mean, he must just lose his mind. Like,
this is exactly the tack that Republicans are going to want to take to distance themselves from Donald Trump in the future. Once he's, once he's either no longer president or very deep into the lame duck thing, and they've got to create that space. They'll say, well, I disagreed with him. I even told him that in private.
Yes, exactly. And now I'll say it out loud. And here's the proof. Here's the stuff I sent him.
Whether they have the proof or not.
People are keeping track. Look, you don't think old Mike Pence kept track of the notes he took on that call when he handed them over to Jack Smith? People take notes, man. They do. Okay, so she lists coddling a terrorist, essentially.
Yep.
She lists foreign wars and interventions. She lists healthcare costs. There was another one in there, maybe tariff costs or something.
Affordability in general. He's not working on affordability. Then H-1B visas. Then college student admission visas. Then his travel. She is building a narrative of an isolationist America. Again, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not becoming woke. Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks we don't need to be vitriolic. And if we're going to be ambassadors for an America First agenda, we can't be calling people traitors and all the rest. My interpretation, but I think that's what she's doing. Ready to go back? Yep.
That President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your
back
safety
on this
are
topic.
Completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
So just to put a button on this, you regret the things that you have said and posted in the past, the Facebook post that was taken down of you in 2020 holding a gun alongside the squad, encouraging people to go on the offense against the socialists, liking a tweet of somebody calling for the execution of Nancy Pelosi and former President Obama. Just examples.
Just a few.
Well, Dana, as you know, and many people know, I addressed that back in 2021. And of course, I never want to cause any harm or anything bad for anyone. So that was addressed back then, and I very much stand by my words I said then, and I stand by my words today. I think America needs to come together and end all the toxic, dangerous rhetoric and divide. And I'm leading the way with my own example, and I hope that President Trump can do the same.
Okay, so on that, I do want to ask you about
Okay. I want to make a point. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, I am only responsible for my words and my actions. Okay. Then is the president only responsible for his words and his actions? How does that square with that radicalization argument that you made at the beginning? I think there's a real... I think she is... it would be far better for her to say, this idea that words have consequences, that radicalization happens, that words create worlds, is absolutely true. And I have participated in that. Mm-hmm. What she's trying to do here is criticize the president for radicalizing people with his words and making her unsafe, which absolutely she should do, while also kind of trying to protect herself. And while she's giving some kind of apology and expressing some regret, she's also saying, I'm only responsible for... Can't the president make that same argument? I'm only responsible for my words and my actions. I mean, so
I don't think she's saying...
I think there's some inconsistency here for what she's saying personally about herself versus what she said earlier about the impact of words and actions of the president.
So if people are new to the podcast, Robb Ryerse's regular contribution to us is that words are things that create realities. Words make worlds. I don't think she is saying anything different than that. I think she's saying Donald Trump's words create realities that people live in, worlds.
100%.
I think she said, my words have done the same. And now my new words want to create a world of kindness. But I can't be I think what she meant was, I can only make worlds now with my words. Okay. I can't go back and undo. I think this is I can't go back and undo 2020 and 2021 and when I chased around high school kids and called them crisis actors from coming to talk about school shootings. I can't undo that. All I can do now is use those same world-making words differently, and that's what I want to do. I think that's what she's getting. I don't think she's saying, hey, words are words, nobody cares. I think she's like, because she even says after Charlie Kirk's assassination, and again, to Vanessa's point that you raised earlier, feels in jeopardy of her own safety, maybe even heard things from her own security people or from maybe from other professionals, Secret Service. And she's also like, you can't be one person in America can be a national leader by being an asshole. One. We've got him again. I think this is her calculation. You can't lead America if you're hating on America. And look, Donald Trump will change a lot of things. He's not going to change that fundamental reality. Donald Trump somehow convinces 40% of Americans that by him saying hateful things about America, he really loves America. So it's confused beyond belief. But I think she is saying she needs an America First agenda that actually is built on kindness, which my ears triggered up because we know that was the number one thing that caused faith voters to move away from Trump. And when they voted in 2020 was the lack of kindness. Kindness is still an American thing. It's an American ideal.
About something you posted just yesterday on X. You questioned who and what country is putting so much pressure on Trump to keep the Epstein files hidden. And you included a picture about donations from pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC. What are you trying to say there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's the question that many Americans are asking, especially when we saw information recently come out in these emails that the Oversight Committee that I serve on has released. And we saw Jeffrey Epstein with ties to Ehud Barak. We saw him making business deals with them, also business deals that involved the Israeli government and seems to have led into their intel agencies. And I think the right question is to ask is, was Jeffrey Epstein working for Israel. And I'm proud to say, a group of people, I'm just representing my district and the American people, and so that's what I was referring to.
I just want to be clear. Are you saying Israel is pushing the President of the United States to cover up the Epstein files? And what evidence do you have that that is the case?
I simply just asked out loud, is there a foreign government? It could be any foreign government.
I'm just asking.
Government pushing to keep this covered up, because people just don't understand the big fight against.
Well, you had AIPAC up there. It was pretty clear which government you were talking about.
That I'm questioning that government in particular, and questioning any other foreign government.
Okay.
See, this is what's important about a reporter like Dana Bash, who will stay on something and got her to go from, I'm just speaking generically because so many Americans are wondering if AIPAC...
I'm just asking the question. Yeah. And listen, by the way, if you're watching on the video, you saw that little green graphic that said track AIPAC and had Marjorie Taylor Greene's picture and the fact that she takes $0 from AIPAC. Track AIPAC is an organization that is run by a friend of ours, Doug and mine. Her name is Corey Archibald. She recently did a interview about her work with Track AIPAC, and Track AIPAC has endorsed candidates for Congress, and their very first endorsed candidate for Congress,
Robb Ryerse. Are they endorsing Marjorie Taylor Greene then, because she got an A on that?
I don't know if they're because there's more.
That thing she got an A on the screen was not AIPAC.
Well, she does not take AIPAC money, but the organization has a bit broader criteria for endorsement. Though she is to be commended for not taking AIPAC money. 100%.
She doesn't take. I don't think she takes special interest money. So she,
right. Yeah.
you know,
and
if
she
you
says
if
that,
you think the thing that makes people righteous in politics is that they don't take corporate money.
No, I think what
That's
it shows is that there's opportunities to build bridges in unexpected ways. Yeah. Matt Gaetz was another one who's very critical of corporate PAC money.
Yeah.
And
that's not a standalone fact to make somebody a candidate worth voting for. Yeah.
No. Yep. Let's keep going.
I think Dana Bash is bringing up something. You want to talk about kindness, you want to stop the vitriol, and then you use this subtle anti-Jewish narrative again.
Yes.
Now, whether you think AIPAC, criticizing AIPAC or that government, because she's going to get into a thing now where she basically says, again, I have the right to criticize any government I want. Okay. Fine argument, I guess, but here she goes.
Talking about lowering the rhetoric, which is important for everybody to hear from you and all of our elected officials. But there is some concern, a lot of concern among Republicans about the rise of anti-Semitic hard-right figures in your movement, especially after Tucker Carlson hosted white nationalist Nick Fuentes on his podcast, didn't question Fuentes about his vile language or views. You did speak at a conference hosted by Fuentes back in 2022. You were criticized, and you said then that you didn't know about his views. Well, Fuentes talked to Carlson about that in the interview. Listen to what he said. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I defend every single person's free speech rights. I think that's incredibly important. So I don't apologize for that, and I don't believe in canceling people. And I think it's important for people like Tucker Carlson and yourself to interview everyone.
Everyone.
I don't believe
everyone
trying to cancel someone by refusing to interview them and question them. And I did speak at his conference back in 2022. However, I don't know Nick Fuentes. He's someone I've never exchanged text messages with or phone calls, but I did speak at his conference. That was the first time I had met him that day, and that was it. But I did watch the interview. I watched the full interview with Tucker, and I admire him for interviewing many people as well as exposing a lot of powerful information
I hear what
that
you're
he
saying.
does on his show.
I hear what you're saying about free speech. I mean, count me as guilty as a proponent of free speech. There's free speech, and then there is hate speech. And this is a man invited on a really prominent conservative show who said, even during that interview, he had a problem with, quote, organized Jewry, and he wasn't challenged on it. In the past, he has denied the Holocaust, called Adolf Hitler effing cool, talked about
Her answer to
the
this
fact
question is
that he
brilliant.
thought Jim Crow was just fine, and on and on. So again, there's free speech, and then there's just hateful language and sentiments.
Well, Dana, again, I told you on this interview that I'm committed to ending the toxic politics, and I think I don't want to have anything to do with it. You should have Nick Fuentes on your show, and you could ask him questions about that. I myself am not anti-Semitic. I have never criticized the Jewish people or said anything about them in particular. I am critical of the government of Israel, and I can criticize any government I want to in the entire world, as well as our own. And a lot of the times I am criticizing our own government for failing the American people. And I think that needs to be the focus, and that's the most important thing people care about, is being able to afford groceries, housing, health insurance, and having a good quality of life.
Yeah, and I hear you saying you're not anti-Semitic, and you've said it before, and you know, some of the posts that you have put up, which you have apologized for, certainly have tropes in them that have been used historically against Jews. But I do want to end this conversation with a question to you, and that is, do you see a situation where you and President Trump can make up? And if not, do you think you have a future in the GOP?
Well, I certainly hope that we can make up. And there's, you know, again, I can only speak for myself. I'm a Christian, and one of the most important parts of our faith is forgiveness. And that's something I'm committed to. That's why I can easily come on your show that is watched all over the world, and I can say things I'm sorry for, and I can try to set an example of how I think we should move forward as Americans. And so, of course, on my end, I believe in that, and I certainly hope to see that.
On my end, I believe in that.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I appreciate you coming on this morning. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Subtle shot there at the end at Donald Trump for, well, I am a Christian and I believe in forgiveness. I can come on and say what I've done wrong and apologize for it.
Nice. I didn't read that. I missed that subtext.
On my end,
Yeah. The Fuentes thing where she says, hey, I don't want to be involved in all that stuff. If you want to talk to Fuentes about Fuentes' ideas, you have him on. That's up to you. Nick Fuentes is not, in my view, someone who should be profiled at in a neutral news setting.
Yeah, platformed.
He shouldn't. I mean, people who agree with him or vehemently disagree with him, they should be going after. They should be talking about him. But he's not something of any public good. So yes, he has the right to say it. That's what. Okay. Free speech doesn't mean you get everyone's attention equally. Free speech.
You should interview everyone.
Everybody. You're going to have a busy week, but I think you should talk to everyone. No, okay, so that's ridiculous, of course. But her trying... Now, if I was media coaching her, I would have her say, look, I was invited to Fuentes' conference. I don't need to know him personally to know what his views are. And I should have known more, and I didn't. I'm not going to let that happen again. I wish I hadn't gone there.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't spoken.
That's a good answer.
If that was true, if something else was true, she knew, she could have said, look, in our party, in our country, we have a lot of different people, and I was trying to do a very specific thing there. I now look at it and I think, wow, I'm not sure. Like, she's basically, and this is true for everybody. You reach a point of personal apology on something, transformation, you do it, and then someone says, hey, one more thing, what about this? And you're not quite there yet, so you start sounding like your old self. okay, that's when someone changes, they don't change every single part, every single thought equally and simultaneously. So I felt like, okay, her dodge was great. That was a judo dodge. I'm not into that. You want to talk about that stuff? I'm staying as far away from that as I can. And wow, can't believe how into that you are. I'm out.
From a political point of view, the idea of breaking the frame, where you answer the question you want to answer, you don't accept the premise of the question. The premise of that question was Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to either criticize or condemn or commend the positions taken by Nick Fuentes
and Tucker Carlson for interviewing him. It was a twofer.
And she basically said, like, what she broke the frame and said, hey, if you want, like, Nick Fuentes can defend himself if he wants to, and you can have him on your show if you want an answer to that question.
Yes.
What I care about is affordability of homes, groceries, health insurance. Boom.
But she also did she did one other thing. She did exactly that. And then she also said, I really commend Tucker Carlson for doing the hard and important work that he's doing. Like, she was snuggling up to him, saying, that's just free speech. I'm staying away from Fuentes because that's not my thing. And look, the MAGA coalition is a ragtag collection of people who otherwise would have very little in common. Mm-hmm. So you're going to find yourself, and this is just true of it's true of America. When we travel outside the United States and people ask us about the United States and then start naming things that go on in the United States that may be, controversially, politically or socially or culture, or just other things like, hey, you guys all surf, huh? And I'm like, no, I actually don't live in a surfing place. I don't live along the coast where we surf. can't even see an ocean. I can see Canada faster than I can see an ocean. And so I'm a long way from, right? I can't talk about that stuff. It's okay for people to say, I'm in a coalition that's made up of a whole lot of people. And some of these people, I just couldn't disagree with more on some of these things. And then someone will say, well, tell us who is it? Speak out about them. Can't you condemn them if you like? Yes, I could spend all the time telling you how those people aren't like me and how I wish they were more like me and form an opinion about, but that part for Dana Bash, I thought was a little bit like, go back again 2 more years and say to her, are you sure you're really sorry? Do you, it's almost like she was sitting there as her political consultant, like, oh, okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene, here are the things you need to touch base on here and apologize for. Like, don't apologize for this, but do apologize for that. And she's like, well, what about this? So, okay, that's the to and fro of a conflictual interview, which this is a conflictual interview. I've been in many conflictual interviews and I've been in many neutral interviews and many positive interviews, and they're very different. You could see Marjorie Taylor Greene smirking. If you watch it a couple of times, which I wouldn't suggest, unless you have some job responsibility that requires it. When Dana Bash, who, by the way, at the end, she called her Dana again.
Yeah, she did. She flip-flopped throughout it. She called her Dana other points.
She called her Dana, and then when she got frustrated, she went to Dana. Now, whether or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
You could see Marjorie Taylor Greene smirking, like, here she goes. She's gonna, like, I said this already. Now I'm saying this. And one of the things that's hard for people to recognize about being interviewed is a lot of, you have your own personal autonomy. This is going out live. Strangers are watching it. There's a lot on the line or you wouldn't be there. And when you feel the interviewer starting to press in, people do things. She chooses to sort of smirk and smile with a little, there you go again, kind of, oh, here it comes. Other people get jittery. J.D. Vance gets real fighty and his eyes Donald Trump gets all like, I'm blah, 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 blah. I'm going to talk about a bunch of other, like, everyone responds to that press a little bit differently. She's not quite there yet where there's not a high level of sensitivity about these issues. She has chosen to step out. I just want to do a little Bible study at the end before we're done. So feel free to say whatever you want. Then I want to end with a little Bible study for us.
No, go for it.
The early church history records in some writings of the Apostle Paul and the book of Acts that when Saul is on his way to Damascus in order to persecute the Jews who are following Jesus, and he had just overseen the assassination of one of the religious leaders, Stephen, some people call Stephen, he's struck by a voice from heaven, the road to Damascus. Now, you don't have to be religious to know that category of cultural reference, that he had a road to Damascus experience because he was moving from Jerusalem to Damascus. Struck, this voice comes out, says, I'm Jesus whom you're persecuting. You've got this all wrong. Then the Apostle Paul. Then his name changes. He's called Paul instead of Saul. So he has a name change, category change, recognition change, identity change. Then he goes and lives, you piece together through his writings in the book of Acts, for 17 years with someone named Simon the Tanner in Joppa, Joppa. Goes and lives there with this Simon. The reason that's important, and I stress it like, smarty pants that knows he's a tanner, is because in Jewish custom, the tanning activity of hides is forbidden in Jewish law. But Paul goes and lives with a faithful person who's not following that pharisaical demand. So he gets himself close to someone different from him to be mentored. Then after that period of time, he reemerges as Paul, the great apostle, and then spends his life saying to everyone, I have no real standing. I always brings it up. I used to be this, now I'm this, and I did my work. There's something, not everybody has 17 years. There's a lot of pressure points. All I'm saying is those earliest days when Paul comes out as formerly being Saul, the early Christians were terrified of the guy. They were like, we don't trust him. We don't know. He's the guy who oversaw this murderous activity. We know his reputation. And then he has to earn it. He has to, by demonstration, he has to earn it back. Some people never include him in the Jewish community of followers of Jesus again. He's banned from the leaders in Jerusalem. There's something in that is very, first century nerdy Bible specific, but there's also something bigger in it. And that is someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene or any of us go through a period of time where we're more comfortable and less comfortable with advocating the internal change in his public spaces. Rob, if you don't mind, because if you weren't here, I would say, my friend and coworker, Robb Ryerse, went through a real transformation from being a Republican. He'll tell you the story about going to Republican camp as a kid and having Newt Gingrich photo on his wall. Then he ran for Congress in 2018 because he wanted to do something about the devastation of Donald Trump. And he lives in Arkansas. So he ran in the primary as a Republican standing against Donald Trump in 2018. And in 2025, for the 2026 election, 8 years later, he's running as a Democrat. Both faithful responses. It's where someone finds themselves. Some of it's strategy. Some of it's also like, I'm not sure if I can call myself a Democrat yet. I don't know where the identity thing is. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is in this thing now. She's in the brackish waters, if you know the ocean and freshwater mixture. She's in the liminal space, if you nerd it out around Walter Brueggemann or other people. She's in the airlock at the airport between being inside security and outside security, where the doors in front of you haven't opened and the doors behind you have closed, and she's in that in-between place. She's on the monkey bars, having let go of one monkey bar while she reaches out for another monkey bar. She's in between. The great number of people return back home. So much so that there's an old proverb gets spoken of in Jewish text and gets pulled into New Testament text. As the dog returns to his vomit, so does a fool repeat their folly. That's warned in the New Testament for people who like get a little glimpse and then run away, run back. So what makes somebody continue the process of transformation and growth and leading into kindness and goodness and generosity? Lots of complex factors, but a group of people around that say, all right, would you be happy with Marjorie Taylor Greene being a America First Republican who drops the vitriol and continues to say, as Americans, we have more in common than divide us, and we need to speak in a unified voice? Is that enough? Or is this picture of Marjorie Taylor Greene only good if it's journey and not the final destination? That's something we all have to sort of, to the degree to which Marjorie Taylor Greene is a case study, right? We don't know her. She's performing. We're performing right now. Whatever. That's not the point. Any final thoughts there on the sermonette?
It's a super interesting idea.
Okay. Hey, in the pastor world, if you really want to dismiss somebody's thoughts, you say, well, that's interesting. This is we used to have code language at Solomon's Porch because we had open sermons so people could talk during them. People would say things, and people knew that one of my tells was if somebody said something that was just like I thought was like, oh my, I would say, wow, that's really interesting. I've never thought about that before. That's gonna take me a minute. You know, like that was the way of saying like, I don't think I. So, but thank you, Rob, for that comment. Yeah, that's there. I think, boy, there's an interesting thought. Or you stopped listening because it got so long and you started thinking about what you have to do right now.
My tell is
and that would be fine.
My tell is I'll say that something is not my favorite. Like, it's not my favorite. And if I say that something is not my favorite, that means I absolutely hate it. So what's interesting in the story that you told, Doug, is the willingness of Simon the Tanner to take Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No, that's all right. That's the point.
She could go live with him for 17 years, please.
Who knows who she's with now?
To take Saul into his home.
Mm-hmm.
And what that shows is that like truth travels best on the road of relationships. And
well, that's not my favorite expression.
You hate that? You hate that?
I just waiting for a place to use that line. Truth travels best on the road of relationships.
Yeah. And so for all of us who have that person in our life who is at some point in the journey, either at the beginning of their political identity crisis or fully into it, we got to keep relationships. And man, it can be so hard and so frustrating, but that's what we need to do. And when the worst thing that Democrats can do right now is have a, well, what took you so long kind of attitude. The I told you so kind of attitude.
Yes.
And if you need to express that, express it not to the person who's in the midst of their identity crisis, not in the midst of their journey, because it will only discourage them and push them backwards. If you have to express it to a trusted Democratic friend.
Yeah.
Like don't point that gun at that person. Don't point that thing at that person. Point it at somebody else who can take it. Because they can't take it right now, and it could actually backfire. So if you've got to express it there, and recognize that like this long journey of transformation is a long journey.
I remember we were at one of our events and we were talking about some of this. It was a Faith and Democracy event in Ohio. and we were talking about people, because they often ask these questions like, what do we do? What do we do with these people in our lives and our family? And I'd suggested in the presentation, and then somebody came up to me afterward to reflect on this and tell me it wasn't their favorite, that the best thing we can do.
Very interesting idea you had. I hadn't thought of that before.
Wow, I hadn't thought of that before. That's going to take me a minute. One of the most important things we can do when someone in our life is going through a major transition like this that we think has a lot of consequence in all this is to find in ourselves when we were that person who's gone through a significant change of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see them through that lens and wonder what took you as long as it took you. Or so empathy is the key. I don't mean sympathy. I mean seeing the world through your own experience to understand their experience. And this person came up and said, yeah, I don't really get that. I don't know. I was raised in a family where my grandfather taught me right, and I've only ever voted for Democrats, and I've never had a thing. And I don't even understand how these people could ever think the way they did. So I said, oh, no, I totally get that. Has there been something else in your life where, like, you made a change that was something that was meaningful? You know, some people go through recovery, or some people change a religious view, or some people, I don't know, they change the sports team. I'm just trying to find, because I can see the look on the person's face. And she said to me, no, I was raised right. I've never had to go through something like that. And I was tired, and I thought, just say what you think right now. And I said, then you might not be the best person to be criticizing other people who have experienced it. For a lot of people, they've had to change their views on a lot of things.
Yep.
And she was mad at me. Man, she was mad. Like, she just stomped away and was like, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
yeah.
I just want to be blunt here.
I've had this argument made to me as a former Republican who's running as a Democrat for Congress, from people who have said, well, you know, can we really trust you?
Yeah.
The whole what took you so long thing, like, I've had that. And I'm like, listen, there are people going through a political identity crisis. And if we want to win elections to defeat the people who are going to impose this horrible agenda on us, we may need some of those votes.
Yeah.
And having some people who have walked that path already as a part of the equation is a really good idea. You know, like, yeah. Anyways,
and you don't need to have an opinion. You don't need an opinion to have everybody change. I'm sorry. You don't need to have an opinion about everybody's change.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't know. Just, you don't have to know what took them so long. Even family. Yeah. But look, if it's family or friends, here's the other thing that was fundamental in that conversation we had right there. The person also said to me, because I had said, well, who do you love that's on the other side of this political aisle from you? Start with your love, the person that you love most. They didn't have anybody. They had a world. They said, I have my family, like my church, everybody's where I am. I'm like, okay, this, like, it might not be your thing then to understand how could these people ever, like, but also,
and you might not be the missionary we want to send out into that culture.
Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, and this is where I was irritated and tired because this conversation went on for like 15 minutes. I'm saying all this not because I feel badly about what I said. I'm saying all this because I think there's something in it. And that was, I don't think the person was being honest with themselves. I just think if you looked back over your life, you have changed. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they say that, like, our taste buds change every 7 years. Like, there's food you used to hate that now you love.
I don't know. Like, just, But if you look at your life, if you look at the world through stability narratives and good and bad,
yeah,
and people are this or they are that, as opposed to people live and people change and people do things that seem heroic in one moment and seem treacherous in the next, and then they change and now they're doing the opposite thing they used to do and now that's heroic. That's how life is. And if you see the world not through those lenses, it gets hard. And there's a lot of people in politics who are very generous about people's change in some things and not change in their political world.
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene makes the point in this interview that what we need in our politics is more kindness. And I think she's absolutely right. And one of the scripture verses I come back to often is what the Apostle Paul,
2 sermons today,
what the Apostle Paul said when he wrote a letter to the church gathering in Rome, when he said, "It is God's kindness that leads us to repentance." The thing that produces change in people's lives is grace, is love, is goodness, it's kindness. Mm-hmm. It's not judgment, it's not shame, it's not losing an argument, it's not, the thing that produces change in people's lives is kindness. And so, Marjorie is exactly right that we need more kindness in our politics. Mm-hmm. And I thank her for saying it.
And the cynic would say, and apparently a little fear for the safety of your life if you hear her story.
100%.
I got freaked out.
Wait,
not doing that again.
Please don't kill me.
No, flag going over here. Okay. But funny enough, she wasn't afraid that the wokies were going to harm her. Her awakening wasn't, we need more kindness, the wokies are coming after me. She said, when Donald Trump called me a traitor to put my life at risk.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because she's been the antithesis to the wokies like us for a very long time.
Yeah.
She is categorical. We just use her as a category.
Yeah.
And she wasn't like, I was afraid for my safety then. That's a separate, interesting subtext that, Yep. That's for the Mike Stavlins who listen all the way through and he knows we're landing the plane and then,
going to keep talking.
Popped it back up and flew over to
we're going to circle around one more time,
Ohio.
Mike.
No, I moved my call.
Mike, and let me say this. Mike Stavlin, the picture that you and Randy put on Facebook for my wife made her day.
Oh.
Yeah. Vanessa often says that she has a hard time telling Randy and Mike apart on the social medias. And so they were together and took a picture of themselves together and sent it to her and said, "Here, this is me. This is me."
And again, she's like, "I'm having a really hard time seeing the difference between a cucumber."
I still don't know who is who, but it made
cucumber
her
and a zucchini to me. I got a 50-50 chance. I'm just going to guess one. You're Mike?
She absolutely loved it. Made her day.
Okay. Hey, y'all. Thanks for being a part of all of this. Next week, I'm going to be doing this mobile somehow. Somewhere.
Where are you going to be next week?
Good Force One is going to find its winter positioning.
Need somebody to help drive?
Nope. That, friends, is an inside joke.
I'm never going to be allowed to drive Good Force One
or ride
again.
Or see. Or think about it.
Or ride?
You can't think about it. You can't talk to it. You can't.
Being banished from Good Force One would be a very sad day.
It would be fun. Good Force One is one of our large diesel vehicles that we operate to carry the faith, hope, and love, supporting democracy for all efforts around the country. All right. Good?
Good.
Okay. Bye, everybody.